I spent 100 days building a dinosaur park in Minecraft. From taming and caring for dinosaurs, as well as discovering fossils and cultivating embryos to get your very own baby dinosaurs, we will do it all in this video. But most exciting of all, we will craft our very own bubble maker. Yes, I know you guys are just watching the video for that. On day 1, I had a pretty rough start because a 𝓞𝓚𝓚 started attacking me immediately, so I ran from him across the desert, and yeah, the first block I mined was actually sand and not wood, you know, just in case another dinosaur would attack me and I had to tower up. I spotted a desert temple in the distance, but the issue was the 𝓞𝓚𝓚 was right in front of it, so I decided to start finding some food. So all I actually found was some mushrooms, so I made myself some stew, and then I started collecting a bit of stone. I then admired the awesome dinosaurs that were around me and got attacked by that cute looking one. I guess he wasn't that nice after all. For the evening, to be nice and safe, I went into the desert temple, fought off the skeleton, and collected the loot, as well as some coal and iron to make myself some armor. On day 2, I went back up to the surface and killed off a few mobs that had spawned, and then this huge bird started attacking me and I somehow managed to outrun him. After that, I made myself a shield to try and be a little safer, and I saw some huge bugs in the sky as well as a Spinosaurus, so yeah, I knew that this 100-day video would not be easy to film. On day 3, I found this village and I thought I was safe, but no, this 𝓞𝓚𝓚 or whatever killed me. And then, to top things up, I was killed by a 𝓢𝓱𝓪𝓭𝓮𝓻. Well, let's call him a big bird. Thankfully, by the end of the day, I was able to collect all my items, and I made it safely in the village church. On day 4, I decided to befriend a 𝒞𝓃𝓉𝓶, which looked a bit like a horse crossed with a zebra. Spirit and I bought back some cows, and then we found some sheep, and there were some feisty little dinosaurs really preventing me from getting to the sheep, but I managed to get enough wool to make myself a bed. On day 5, I managed to bring back all the animals, and I put them in a pen made out of the forge. I also crafted a whip that I could use to tame the animals, and truthfully that is the only thing that disappoints me with this mod, the fact that you tame animals with a whip and not food, which is a bit strange, but after all it's a game and the animals don't actually get whipped, so yeah, that's a bit reassuring. So basically I tried taming some of the bumpy head guys, and look where that got me. Dead again, yes. I wanted to get some leads, so I hopped onto Spirit's back and we went over to the swamp to spend the night. I removed the shaders to see better at night, and soon enough I found a small slime, and I also found this skeleton riding a spider, and they actually fought each other, which was quite funny. On day 7, I started building the very first enclosure for my dinosaur park. I quickly ran out of stones, so on day 8, I decided to go mining a bit. On day 9, I decided to add a few logs to the build to make it look a bit nicer, and as it was quite dangerous cutting trees with all the dinosaurs around me, I actually decided to destroy some of the village houses for resources. Of course, the first dinosaur I welcomed to my zoo was the Brachiosaurus, because it is actually my favorite dinosaur since I was a tiny little girl. I named one Leo and the other Grace. I decided to make the wall 4 blocks large, so that basically there would be an area for the visitors to walk and look at the lovely dinosaurs. And oh my god, I am so thankful for the village update, because the houses in 1.12 were horrible. I mean, they didn't even make the roofs stick out a little. That night, I decided to tame Leo, and I could actually ride him, which I thought was so cool, and it would be surely very helpful throughout this video. On day 12, I did a bit of farming, and then I realized that Leo had gotten out the enclosure, and then Grace went out, so yeah, I had to bring both back. From days 13 to 14, I went mining, and guess what I discovered? Fossils. So basically there were some strange blocks I'd never seen before in vanilla Minecraft, and basically you could get biofossils, ancient relics, etc. And to be honest, I had no clue how to use them, but we will soon find out together their uses. On day 15, the first enclosure was almost done, and that's when I realized that a Triceratops had destroyed one of the walls. And that's when I started realizing that maybe stone was not strong enough. So nevertheless, I tamed the Triceratops and brought him in. And yeah, walls kept getting broken for some reason. And yeah, I started feeling quite stressed because how was I meant to keep dinosaurs in if they could destroy stone with one flick of their heads? And it's really funny how hopeful I was because on day 16 I fixed everything up, made everything nice, and once again the walls got destroyed. So yeah, I realized that stone would never be strong enough for these dinosaurs. On day 17, I was starting to build another enclosure and I just realized it was silly. So I started looking throughout all the items I could make and I actually realized I could craft myself a bone armor. So of course, I crafted one and wore it and it looked super cool. But then when I was in first person, I realized that it just gave a mask. So I took off the helmet. On day 18, I was mining some of the village houses when a Parasaurus attacked me. Yeah, it did not go very well, so I continued building my useless enclosure when this creeper exploded right behind me and that freaked me out. On day 19, I used the fossils I'd found to make an analyzer and I clearly was not sure what I was supposed to do with it, but we will discover that together. And once again, I was hit by the bumpy head dinosaur. I thought I was safe behind my door, but no, I died once again. Trust me, I will die so many times in this 100 day. It was a little bit harder than I expected. On day 20, Leo got out once again, so I brought him in and I thought, what is stronger than stone? Iron. And that is how I decided I would build a huge iron farm to get plenty of iron because I would need literally loads to make enclosures large enough for dinosaurs. While I was mining, I got a few diamonds, which was pretty cool. And then on day 22, I wanted to place a column of iron to see if the dinosaurs could break it. But all it did was I just got hit by plenty of dinosaurs and that Triceratops chased me to my house. I tried it again and again and that Triceratops could not let me go. I was just stuck in these walls. I did not know what to do. I had my shield raised up. But yeah, the Triceratops actually killed me and it was so scary because he could just break everything. I was never safe, and then the bumpy head guy killed me once and then he killed me again when I got my items. It really made me feel like I was such an experienced Minecraft player, never dying at all, it just flattered my ego. Finally, on day 23, I managed to make a column out of iron and I was basically just gonna leave it here and look at it from time to time, just to see if the dinosaurs managed to destroy it. That night, I went out fighting to try and get a bit of string to make myself a new whip. And that's when I realized that Leo could actually protect me. If mobs would attack me and hit me, he would kill them from time to time. So trust me, Leo was my best buddy from then on. On day 24, I discovered there was actually a paleontologist villager who had an archaeology workbench, and basically you could repair ancient swords and everything with it. On day 24, I decided to kill a Triceratops that was really too close to my iron farm. I was just so scared he would destroy it, and killing dinosaurs gives so much XP. And I mean, thankfully, because with the amount of times I die, I could never get my levels up if the dinosaurs didn't give that many levels. So that was a little bit reassuring, at least I might be able to enchant at some point. It's super weird, but basically I felt so much safer at nighttime, so I would do all the wood cutting and all at nighttime because, yeah, the Minecraft vanilla mobs are way nicer than the dinosaurs. On day 26, gradually the iron farm was taking shape, and of course I was attacked by a Triceratops, but with Leo by my side, I was not scared anymore. That night, I was able to craft myself a whip, and I decided to tame a Gallimimus, which was the dinosaur that had attacked me at the very start, and he was so fast. Now, the issue with the Gallimimus, being super fast, is that he's impossible to keep inside a fence. So yeah, I would lose him super easily, but I managed to find him with the help of Leo. We soon arrived back at the swamp and saw this strange little lizard that looked a bit like a Komodo dragon, but it probably wasn't that. Basically, I didn't have the names on all the time for the dinosaurs, and I forgot to look, because if I left the names all the time, it would just not look very nice. Of course, I was almost bumped to death by the bumpy head guy, so that was really exciting. And then I went to fight off a slime and some monsters, and then I was able to craft a culture vat. But to use the culture vat, I actually needed some eggs, so I went to find some chickens, and all it resulted was me getting kicked by a bunch of bumpy heads. So yeah, that just wasn't very effective. Day 29, trust me, the most terrifying day of all. Basically, I was just looking at this Stegosaurus, you know, because I thought he looked quite handsome, and he suddenly kicked me with his tail, came in my house. Look at that thing, it's huge. He came in my house and he followed me down to the mine. How could such a big creature fit in a mine? Like, what? So I tried pushing him in lava, I tried taming him, and yet he still continued to hit me, so I managed to outrun him. I then mined some iron because my pickaxe had broken, and then suddenly I heard him die, so I expect he fell into lava, and that was just terrifying. I mean, take that into account. It took me a whole day to get back up to the surface alive. It was so scary. On day 30, I managed to finish the first layer of my iron farm, and basically I started placing buckets of water everywhere to fully cover everything with water. On day 31, I galloped back to the village with Spirit, and then I went to mine a little and got a few diamonds, which would be very necessary for me not to die to every single dinosaur, because I just look so ridiculous in front of you. From days 32 to 34, I worked really hard on the farm. I was also able to craft myself some tools and a bit of diamond armor, which was pretty cool. And then it was time to get the villagers up to the farm, and yeah, I had a few issues. Somehow the villager was in the ground at some point, but yeah, I managed to get him there safely. And then I took Leo to get more rails at a mineshaft I found, and then Leo went into this frenzy and just destroyed the whole mountain. It was so funny. But when I saw a Carno in the distance, I think it was an Allosaurus, we decided it was time to head home safely. I then continued to bring some villagers over, and then on day 35 I bred them, and they weren't breeding, so, you know, I gave them a bit of privacy, and it worked. So I guess if ever you're having trouble breeding villagers, just give them a bit of privacy sometimes, it helps. By day 36, the farm was almost accomplished. I, made a little sort of funnel down to the ground, and then I added some signs and lava, and finally I had my first iron golem spawning, and I could really test out if the dinosaurs could break the iron because I made a small iron fence. I soon realized that using iron blocks would use up way too many resources, so I decided to use iron plates instead because they were way less expensive. On day 42, it was time for the egg adventure, so Spirit and I went off into the forest until we found a cute little tent with some chickens nearby, so I bred some of the chickens, and while I was waiting, I actually used the sifter. I would basically just place dirt and it would give me sand. Not very useful, I agree. I then came across this strange black slime that basically came from a pool of tar, and when one of the slimes would hit you, it would just turn black everywhere, and it was called tartar sauce. Minecraft humor. On day 44, I found another big bird, and I wondered if maybe he would drop some feathers, which would be useful for making arrows, and he didn't, he just dropped bones. Finally, on day 45, I had enough eggs, but I decided instead of going home, just continuing on my way, and I crossed paths with this strange dinosaur bird that killed my horse, and I was left there all alone, without Spirit, in the middle of the land of the dinosaurs. But thankfully, a kind brachio decided to take me on his back and led me to an ocean where we separated paths. On the other side of the ocean, I found an immense jungle with some bumpy head guys on one side, so trust me, I didn't go near them, I just got some saplings. I made my way back, but I don't know why I couldn't find the Brachiosaurus. So instead, I decided to tame a parasaur to walk around for a bit. And then I saw a flying dinosaur called a 𝓟𝓪𝓬𝓻, but he was way too high for me to get close to him. To my surprise, Tom the Brachio was actually still there. Basically, I had just mistaken the island for another one. Sadly, Tom struggled to go through the trees, so we had to separate paths and said farewell. I then spotted one of the feisty dinosaurs, but basically I couldn't ride him, and then I saw this strange villager totem and mined where the cross was, but didn't get anything. And then, to my big surprise, I actually found this saber-tooth. I didn't even know there was that mob in the game, so I was so happy, but he was actually called a 𝓚𝓠𝓏 and not a saber-tooth, but let's call him a saber-tooth. I really wanted to use my analyzer and culture vat, so instead of bringing him back because my house was super far away, I killed him. And yes, it may look barbaric, but you will soon find out why I did that. So basically, I collected the bones and the meat, which had the saber-tooth DNA in it. I then made my way back home on Pamela the parasaur and realized that the dinosaur had stayed in their enclosure, which was a good sign. Next, I used the analyzer and basically I got some 𝓚𝓠𝓏 DNA. I then crafted some bio-goo and combined it with the DNA in the culture vat in the hopes of getting a baby 𝓚𝓠𝓏, but sadly the cultivation failed and I killed my first Phaleosaurus, but basically with his flesh you could make even more bio-goo, so that was pretty cool. On day 51, I continued working on some enclosures and I tried fixing this sword with some relic scraps, but I guess you needed way more than 4. Later that day, I injected a cow with the 𝓚𝓠𝓏 embryo and nothing happened, so I was a bit confused. So on day 52, I decided to bring the cow inside an enclosure and basically with a special book, I could see the progress of the embryo growing. And trust me, it felt super weird that a baby saber-tooth was growing inside the cow, but soon enough it was born and I thought that was like a really cool addition to that mod. I thought it was super cool to give like an extra use to the vanilla mobs. On day 53, I continued building the park and the enclosures, and then using the analyzer, I got some 𝓚𝓠𝓏 DNA. On day 54, I went into the nether, and basically that was to mine plenty of quartz because I uncovered, yes, I realized that quite late, but I uncovered you could make some reinforced glass. So I wanted to try and see if it would work for the dinosaurs, like if it was strong enough. So I crafted some and smelted it. I also wanted to get some 𝓞𝓼𝓲𝓬s. I have no clue how you say it, but basically it's an extinct animal that looks a lot like a mammoth and an elephant. On day 56, I was able to try out the reinforced glass, and basically the dinosaurs couldn't break it and it looked way nicer than the iron plates. On day 57, I went once again to get plenty of quartz from the nether. And then on day 58, I injected a cow with another embryo because basically the sheep had somehow died and I wasn't really sure why, but I was soon going to realize it. Basically, the 𝓚𝓠𝓏 killed his mother and his unborn sister. So yeah, the 𝓚𝓠𝓏 had probably killed the sheep. So yeah, that was a little bit barbaric. From days 59 to 60, I needed to get some more 𝓞𝓼𝓲𝓬 DNA because I didn't get any from the tusks, and this strange bird dinosaur that had killed Spirit basically attacked me and could ride some of the mobs, so yeah, that was a bit scary, but I managed to kill him. I also needed more 𝓚𝓠𝓏 DNA, and thankfully there were some bones left from last time, and I also decided to kill this cool looking dinosaur. I then managed to tame an elegant Megalosaurus, which was called Sven, and Sven was very helpful, and together we collected 𝓞𝓼𝓲𝓬 DNA. On day 61, Sven and I made our way home carefully and crossed paths with a Spinosaurus, so I was careful not to go too close. And when we arrived home, I put him in his pen and he fell asleep. On day 62, I collected a bit more sand, and I was also able to craft an enchanting table, and I started enchanting even though I didn't have the 30, level enchantments, because I'd placed a torch in front of the bookshelves, so yeah, that wasn't very smart. I then realized that one of my parasaurs was losing health, and I did not understand why. I then got a cow and injected an embryo in her right before having to battle with a bumpy head dinosaur. And then that moment made me laugh and cry at the same time. I had to inject a 𝓞𝓼𝓲𝓬 embryo in this sheep. So an elephant in a sheep. Yeah, you understand now. I then placed an Edaphosaurus egg I had cultivated along with Sven, and then I went to retrieve a 𝓞𝓼𝓲𝓬 that was nearby. There was only one, and that is why I went to get some 𝓞𝓼𝓲𝓬 DNA. But then tragedy struck when my baby 𝓞𝓼𝓲𝓬 attacked me, and so Dumbo killed him, to defend me. But yeah, this meant I had to cultivate yet another 𝓞𝓼𝓲𝓬 embryo. On day 66, I was attacking a bumpy head dinosaur, and I realized it was actually one I had managed to tame earlier on, so I fed him to get his health back up. On day 67, Leo helped me kill off a Triceratops. I didn't do anything, Leo did everything, but thankfully I was able to get some enchantments. But I did have quite a fight with that little bumpy head guy, which was not very fun. Finally, on day 68, I got Fortune 3 on my pickaxe, which meant that now when I would get some quartz, I would have a bunch more and it would go way faster. The baby 𝓞𝓼𝓲𝓬 was born, and of course it killed its mother, which was a little bit sad, but I brought him in with the other 𝓞𝓼𝓲𝓬. By the way, I named them 𝓅𝓱𝓪 and 𝒟𝓱𝓪. I of course went back to the nether and made the most of my Fortune 3 pickaxe. On day 70, I got once again some more sand, and this parasaur was so mad at me. I don't know what I did to him. I guess some dinosaurs are more aggressive than others. It just depends. I then continued removing the iron plates and placing some glass, as well as terraforming. On day 71, I tried getting Grace, my brachio, back to base, and for some reason she kept running back to the exact same place every time, so that was a bit confusing. And then when I was farming, this parasaur just stole all my crops. Sadly, the little lizard dino I'd hatched attacked me, and so Sven killed it in defense, which was a little bit disappointing, but I can't be mad at him. I then wanted to try and tame this Stegosaurus, but as you can see, he just hit me with his tail and I had to fight off the bumpy head guy. Dumbo needed to fill up his big belly, so I gave him plenty of hay, and after taming the Stegosaurus, I brought him over to his enclosure, and it was really cute because he was sleeping and I got him a friend. By the way, I named them Spike and Thorn. I then continued building some enclosures, and I also refurbished the sheep and cow enclosure because it just looked terrible. I of course had to destroy the remains of the original enclosure because it was definitely not strong enough and it had to go. Okay, so this was so weird. Basically, Dumbo and I went to get Grace. I tried pulling her back with a lead she didn't follow, and when I came over, she killed me. What? I had tamed her. I don't even know for sure if it was Grace or another brachio, but this just shocked me. I don't know why that happened. From days 74 to 75, I fed my 𝓞𝓼𝓲𝓬 Max, and basically the little, lizard or whatever attacked me, and then Max hit it back. I then went mining for a bit, so I found some fossils as well as some diamonds, so that was pretty exciting. And by the way, guess what? The biggest fossil ever found was the fossil of the Argentinosaurus, and as you can hear, it was discovered in Argentina, and it just looks like a Brachiosaurus, but huge. It's incredible. After filling my pockets with diamonds, I went back to the surface to find my house destroyed. Of course, another cultivation failed, so I had to kill the 𝓜𝓾𝓼𝓲𝓬. I started off the day by killing a few creepers that had spawned during the night, and then I continued destroying the really useless cobblestone enclosures from the beginning. You know, why did I do that? I feel so stupid, but I guess I didn't know. And then I realized that the other 𝓤𝓞𝓏 had grown, but unlike Max, he was quite feisty. As I now knew that the dinosaurs needed some food or else they would die, I placed some doors in every enclosure so that I could give them food easily. And now the moment you've all been waiting for, I finally made a bubble blower. It was just incredible, and yeah, I didn't know how it worked. One thing I love about this mod is how cool like the embryos look when they're cultivated. As Leo had escaped once again his enclosure, I bought another Triceratops in, and I didn't know that the one that was in was actually wild, and I almost died, so yeah, that was a close call. So another silly Tootsie moment. Basically, I bought Dumbo in an enclosure where there was wood everywhere and he destroyed everything. So yeah, that was a little bit ridiculous. On day 79, I bought a second Triceratops to the enclosure and I filled it up because that was how Leo could escape. Yeah, he could escape from like a 2-block high gap. I don't know why. So when I brought Dumbo over, basically that broke the door and one of the 𝓤𝓞𝓏s was outside, so thankfully it was Max and I wasn't constantly attacked. I then bought this friendly bumpy head in his enclosure, and then I had to get Max back into his enclosure, so I couldn't actually pull him with the lead. It didn't work very well, so I had to push him in. I then started working on Dumbo's enclosures, so I made it a bit in the Badlands biome, but I thought he would like it, you know, wherever it would be. I then placed some lizard eggs in an enclosure because all my previous lizard dinosaurs had died. And by the way, please don't hate too much on me in the comments for not saying like all the dinosaur names. It's just they're like too complicated to say because you don't just say them in everyday life, you know. So I hope you won't be too mad at me. To embellish the dinosaur park, I started making some paths like all around the enclosures. I thought it made things look much neater. And that night I tamed another bumpy-head guy and I brought him over with his friend. As Dumbo's original enclosure was free, I decided to bring over 2 quaggas. And you know, when I say quagga, I feel I'm saying it wrong. So, you know, when I say the actual dinosaur names, it's even worse. That night, I made the most of the fact that dinosaurs were sleeping to try and tame some dinosaurs, but a bumpy-head guy had to ruin it all. On day 83, I went back to the Nether to get plenty of quartz for building all my enclosures because yeah, I could never get enough quartz. On day 84, I started off the day as usual by checking the iron farm, and then I got plenty of sand and combined it with some quartz to make some reinforced glass. I got into some trouble with a Triceratops, but of course, Leo helped me out quite a bit, so I was actually happy that he had escaped from his enclosure. I then crafted a lever and put it on the bubble blower, and finally we had a lovely bubble blower in Minecraft. I mean, this was probably the only reason visitors would come visit the zoo, you know, not for the dinosaurs, but for the bubble maker. By the way, I'm so sorry if you can hear birds and the wind in the background because it's way too hot where I am. It's horrible to be recording in this heat. That night I was able to tame a Dryosaurus. And to be fair, they were really quite cute. Talking about cuteness, in the distance I saw an 𝓚𝓾𝓼𝓲𝓬, I think that's how you say it. It's basically the big dinosaurs with like a large ball at the end of their tail. They're like so cool. So I went to tame 2 and I got them in an enclosure. And I also got a third Triceratops. Okay, so here, what happened? I have no clue. I was just walking and I died. Okay, so yeah, just typical living with the dinosaur thing to happen. On day 88, I fed my bumpy heads and then I went off with Leo to find a Megalosaurus because I basically wanted to get Sven a girlfriend or a boyfriend, and Sven had asked for a boyfriend because he's not very interested in girlfriends. and Sven's boyfriend was called Björn. And for some reason, the Smilodons had joined the enclosure, so I just, let it be. As my Gallimimus from earlier on had run off, I never saw him again, I decided to go tame 2 other Gallimimuses, I guess, and another dinosaur bird. So basically I had a 𝓜𝓾𝓻 and a Titanus. Okay, so you understand why I say dinosaur bird now. So that the dinosaurs would not get thirsty, I basically placed some cauldrons with some water in every single enclosure. On day 91, for the millionth time, I tried getting Leo in his enclosure, and I also got a parasaur. I popped back into the nether yet again for some more quartz because you can never have enough quartz, I use it up so quickly, and I basically made a fence, all around the Jurassic Park. I also got some huge woolly rhinos. They were so cool. So I don't know exactly how they're called. Let's call them the huge rhinos. And I also got a 3rd Ankylosaurus. And now my recording software just didn't work anymore. It was crazy. It ruined the whole footage of the end of my video, but basically I managed to kill some Allosauruses, and I brought back these cute little dinosaurs, and then I analyzed the meat to turn it into DNA to get eggs. I then went back to the swamp to get, the huge crocodile dinosaur. I feel just so unprofessional just saying something dinosaur, something dinosaur. I then wanted to kill this Spinosaurus, and it was super laggy, but basically when I was playing it wasn't. So basically I started hitting it and everything was fine, and then he took me in his jaw and I died. And yeah, I'm so sorry, all this footage is ruined. So basically this is just proof I killed Spinosaurus, but yeah, it's just ruined footage. And now the moment we've all been waiting for, the T-Rex fight. Well, it wasn't a fight. I was just behind my shield, crying my eyes out, and Leo was there to do the job. I then cultivated the T-Rex DNA, got my little dancing eggs for some reason, and here are the cute baby T-Rexes. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. It was so exciting to make, and I will see you in the next video. Love you!